Greetings, everyone. You've been listening to an excerpt from In Heaven, It's Always Autumn, and that's a song from the Chords of Orion album Souls. I was recently asked by actually a couple folks if I could walk through the patch and the signal path that I used for this song, and then also what did I do to record and mix it. So without further ado, let's get right into the details. First of all, I'll just mention that I'm using on this song the Fender Telecaster Blacktop Baritone guitar. Okay, so one of my baritones. The pickup setting is just on the bridge pickup, which is the humbucker. And I've got a clean guitar tone. Okay, and that clean tone basically is a Fender type of amp model. I believe it's a Vibrolux reverb model on my Avid 11 rack. I've got a little compression dialed in. You can hear that tone squashing a little bit. And that's pretty much it. It's pretty straightforward. If you've got a Fender amp, you can get it no problem. All right, so that's pretty standard stuff, isn't it? So where's the magic? Well, basically, it is all in the TC Electronic Flashback triple delay. So let me walk through the patch here of the 3 delays on that device. Delay number 1 is the tape delay type off of the triple delay. I'm going to go ahead and turn this on and let you listen to it, then I'll talk about the details. Okay, so it's not too difficult of a setting. The tap subdivision is set to a quarter note, so just a basic, bam, bam, bam kind of delay. The delay time is in the 350 to 400 millisecond range. The repeats are fairly long. Okay, so that's probably a little bit more than halfway up. The mix is pretty much the same amount of wet and dry. So you can hear that first repeat is pretty much at the same volume level as the original note. All right, so that's delay number 1. Delay number 2 is the triple delay's 2290 mod delay type. So it's a clean digital delay with some modulation added in. So let's listen to that. All right, that's a nice sounding delay. So what are the settings? Well, simply the delay time is about the same as the delay number 1, so that's going to be 350 to 400. I would say I probably have this one set to about 380 or so. And the repeats are probably about halfway up on the dial. Yeah, okay. And the mix favors the dry note just a little bit more than the delays. So if you think about that, maybe about 45% wet, 55% delay. No, let me say that again. 45% wet, 55% dry. All right, and then finally, the tap subdivision is a dotted eighth. It's actually a quarter note plus a dotted eighth. That's one of the things I really like about the triple delay. It doesn't just have quarter, dotted eighth, 16th, dotted 16th. You can actually do combinations of quarter and dotted eighth. So it's pretty cool. All right, so on we go to delay number 3. This is the analog delay type. Here's what it sounds like. And you can hear the delay time's a little bit slower. It's maybe about 450 or so milliseconds. And again, the repeats are fairly long. And the balance between wet and dry, again, favors the dry just a little bit over the wet. Again, maybe 55% dry, 45% wet, and that's it. All right, so for In Heaven It's Always Autumn, I've got all three delays turned on, and I'm using the series mode. So in that mode, delay 1 feeds into delay 2 feeds into delay 3, so it's really a cascading delay effect, and here's what it sounds like. I really like the combination of those three delays together. It gives a really nice kind of swirling sound as the repeats fade out. So again, listen for that. Really nice. All right. So that's the setup for the guitar and the amp model and the Flashback triple delay. Let's move on to the recording phase. I'm going to switch over to a screen capture of Logic and show you what I did on the recording side. All right, I've got the song pulled up into Logic Pro 10, and what I'd like to do is just go through all the parts and pieces of the recorded performance and the mix down, just so you can see how I put it together. So I'd like to draw your attention first to the recording itself of the performance, and that's in this top track called Guitar. Basically what I did was I engaged the signal path that we talked about earlier with the Flashback triple delay and the compressor, and I performed the song, and I just captured it as it was with all the delays going. Let's listen to just a few seconds of that. Right, great. If you haven't already checked out that song, again, please do so. That way you'll get a feel for what this recording is all about. All right, so after I recorded the performance, I was listening, to it and evaluating not only the performance but the sound. And I decided that, first of all, in a mixdown situation, I needed to EQ this track a little bit. So let's take a look at that. I used Isotope Alloy 2, and as you can see, I pulled down the EQ a little bit, should say, at a couple of different frequency ranges. The first is at about 99 hertz, and I pulled about 1.3 dB out of that. And then I pulled about 1.6 dB out at 382 hertz. The reason for this is there was some kind of mid-rangey garbage, if you will, going on in this kind of area. And let me let you listen to the quote garbage here just for a moment. Okay, so you can hear there's some kind of nasty resonances going on in those frequency ranges. So just lowering the EQ at that point, at those points by 1.5, 1.3 and 1.6 dB kind of really help clean things up. So I'll play again just briefly with the Alloy plugin turned off, and then I'll turn it on so you can hear the difference. It is subtle, but it does in my view help. Here we go. Alloy is off. It's kind of interesting. It's even though it's a subtle move, EQ move, you can hear the difference. All right, so that was what I did just on the track itself. You can see there's no other effects here. If you're not familiar with Logic, here's where the audio effects go, right in this little lane here. So I've just got Alloy here. So I got it EQ'd and I thought, yeah, that sounds pretty good, but this song needs a little something more. So I gave it a little bit of thought and I decided to try some reverse guitar. So I basically took the track, reversed it, and you can see I kind of tacked on areas together to create a reverse track. So check this out just for a few seconds. All right, so that's pretty cool, but when I play them both together, it's not a bad sound, but man, it got mushy. Everything just kind of mushed or mushed, depending on your pronunciation, together. So that wasn't going to work. But I did like the reverse track itself. So I started playing around with effects, and I came up with an idea that eventually ended up on the recording. And that was to use the ring shift effect, sorry. I forgot what this is called. Ring shifter effect in Logic Pro. And I actually just used one of the presets called Moving Pad. So check this out when I turn it on. Now this is just going to be the reverse track. It's off. And check out when I turn the ring shifter on. Ooh, that's kind of interesting. It's kind of annoying though, isn't it? So I thought, okay, I might be able to work with this, but I've got to work with this. So I pulled out a couple of other plugins. I'm a big fan of the Waves Automatic Double Tracking, or ADT plugin, which is what the Beatles used way back when. And I tried a preset and it worked pretty well. It's called the Pop Female Ghost preset in this plugin. So let's check it out. It's going to create an automatic double track that creates a more pronounced stereo effect to the track. Here we go. Turn it off and then I'll turn it on. Turn it off. Turn it on. All right, so that's cool. It changed the stereo image some, and it took a little bit more of the body out, which is creating the muddiness or mushiness in the overall sound. And I thought, oh yeah, the Space Designer, which if you're not familiar with it is the convolution reverb for Logic. And again, when I can use them, I'll use the presets, and I played around with the presets and came up with a 4-point-second rewash, and then I just simply played around with the dry and wet balance. So let's check this out. Here is before the reverb, and then I'll switch the reverb on. Hey, where'd the signal go? It's really low. Let me bring it up. It's negative 13.6. Let me bring it up to 0. Ooh, that's nice. So, I've got a nice sound, and what do I do with it? I want it to be subtle. So I decided to bring the volume way down. So it's actually at negative 13.6. And it ends up being almost a subliminal drone underneath the main performance. So let's check that out here. I'm going to go ahead and bring this back up to the beginning. And let's listen to it. Now you're going to have to listen very closely for the drone of the reverse guitar. Serious, you're going to have to listen really closely. Here we go. All right. Did you hear any of it? You may not have been able to. My ear's probably a little bit more attuned to it because I play the music and I spent, some time with this. But it's really subtle, and I feel like it just helps to fill out underneath the main performance, just as a little drone wash kind of thing. Very, very subtle. All right, let's move on. What's left to do with this overall track? Well, there's a lot of delay, but I don't have any reverb. And I feel like on the overall mix, I needed a little bit of reverb. So again, I pulled up the Space Designer, and I selected the 5.9 second Ancient Church preset, and I played around with it just a little bit, but it's pretty much out of the box. You can see there's a little bit of, I moved the EQ a little bit just to pull out some of the high end. But let me go ahead and let you listen to this. I'm gonna start it on with the mix as it is, and then going to pull out the dry so there's just the reverb. Here we go. I'll pull up the dry. Now you can hear that tail. Let me do that again. All right, great. So that really kind of fills in without being too muddy. I think it's a good compromise. All right, where did I go next? A little bit of bus compression. So I could have used the Logic Pro's compressor, and that would have worked fine. I also really like the V-Comp compressor by Waves, and it's a kind of a subtle compression. So watch the needle here. This will show the gain reduction. Okay, so I'm really just kind of smoothing out the sound, really just compressing by about 1 to 2 to maybe 3 dB as the song progresses. Let's check out a loud part here. Okay, so I'm just really doing a gain reduction of about 3 dB. You can see the ratio is 1.5 to 1, so it's a very gentle compression. You're not going to hear any pumping or anything like that. The final effect that I added is the Kramer Master Tape plugin. I don't use this quite as much today, but it's kind of a nice tape saturation plugin. And I've got just some subtle tape, I was going to say tape effect, but maybe tape artifacts added to the signal. So a little bit of wow and flutter. Watch the meters as the song plays here in the loud part. Okay, so I'm not using the tape plugin to really add any gain to the signal. It's just adding a little bit of tape saturation character to the signal. All right, so that's the mix. That's the mix. It wasn't too bad. It probably took me a couple of hours to kind of figure out what I wanted to do with this song. And what I really wanted to do was not add too much to it, because I really did like the original performance, but I wanted to add just a little bit to add a little extra depth. So there you have it. That's a walkthrough of In Heaven, It's Always Autumn, which again is on the Souls Chords of Orion album. If you're interested in doing so, I would love to have you subscribe to my channel. I've got ambient guitar-related content coming every week. And as always, I'll see all of you on the next video.